Okay, so I have a piece of dot paper that is folded into quarters. And what I want to do is I want to create a circular flounce for the bottom of the skirt. So I need to know the circumference of the bottom of the skirt, which I can find by adding together the HBL from the front and the back. So front HBL plus back HBL is 19 1/8. So that gives us half. So multiply that by 2, that gives us 38 1/4. But a circle is not all on straight grain. So there's 2 points that are on straight grain and 2 points that are on the cross grain, but most of it's on the bias, which means it could stretch out. Therefore, we're going to subtract 1 inch for ease. That gives us 37 1/4. In order to find the radius of the circle, we need to divide this by pi times 2. So that's pi times 2 is that. So 37 1/4 divided by pi times 2 equals 5.93. So our radius is 5.93, or 5 15/16 is pretty close. So what I do is I take something. So here I have a piece of paper, and I poked a hole in it, and I'm going to use that for my pencil. And then I measured from where my pencil point is going to be. I measured 5 15/16, and I poked a hole with a tack. Now I'm going to take my tack and put it right through the corner of my paper. And then I'm just going to weigh this down so that it doesn't get away from me. So that's my sew line, where I'll sew the circular flounce to the bottom of the skirt. So now what I need to do is I need to add seam allowance in this direction. So I can measure up from where I had my pencil a 1/2 inch. Poke a hole. And draw my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then I want my flounce, just like my pleat, I want my flounce to be 5 inches long. So from here, I can measure out 5 inches. Poke a hole. Put my pencil in there. And this is the hem of my circle. Now I actually need to roll that up and hem it. So that looks really tiny, but it actually takes a bit of fabric to do it. So in order to do that hem, I need 5/8 of an inch. So I measure from here 5/8 of an inch. and draw my hem allowance. So this is where I sew it to the skirt, and this is my 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then this is my circular flounce, and then this is my 5/8 of an inch hem allowance. So now, once I cut this out, I'll have a circle, and I need to notch so that I can find center, front, and side seams. So let me pause and cut this out, and I'll show you that next step. Okay, so I've cut my circle out, and right now it's in 4 equal parts. But we know from our measurements that the front and the back are not equal. So if we try and just say that the folds are the side seam, we're going to find that part of the circle is too small to sew into the back, and the other part is too big to sew into the front. So what we're going to do is we'll open this up. We'll call this the side seam, and we'll call this the center front. Do it this way, actually. There we go. So center front, center front. And then this over here will be the center back. So along this line here, we need this to be able to fit into our 9.5. So instead of having it equal, we move this, the notch for this side seam, towards the front 1/8 of an inch. And then we'll notch our center front. Directly on the fold. And then the center back notches are 1/2 an inch apart, so on the fold I will measure over 1/4 and make a mark. So when I open this up, there's my center back, there's my side seam, there's my center front. Now what I need is a grain line. So I just moved the camera so that you can see the whole shape. So normally we have a nice straight edge that we can use to figure out where the grain line is. But here we have a circle. So what do? This is my center front. This is my center back. What we're going to do is we're going to make the grain line in line with the center of the body. So I'll turn it sideways because it's easier to work with it that way for me. This way so you can still see center front and center back. So I'm going to put my ruler right on center. Go ahead and anchor this. Kind of wants to move around on me. Now we just need to label it. So again, you're welcome to write your label by hand. I went ahead and typed one. So here's my center front. There's my label. So same style number, same style name. The name of the piece is Flounce. It's a size 8. We're cutting 1 out of self. Make sure you have your name and your semester or date. And that is how we do the circular flounce.